Players want me to make another level for my horror game. They're just begging for more puzzles and more mechanics. But don't worry, I'm here to deliver, like a hero from the sky, blessing my wonderful players with what they want. For the past 3 weeks, I've been intensively designing the new level for my horror game, making sure it's even scarier than the first one, with a unique blend of puzzles and fear. In this video, I'll tell you more about this new level and how I designed it, as well as giving some insights into the problems I faced. So I'm making an escape room horror game called One Socket, which I'm releasing this Halloween. You can wishlist it on Steam. I'm about 1/3 of the way into development. The first level is pretty much finished, and I'm now working on the next. Before we have a look at how I designed the next level, we have to first understand the core gameplay loop of One Socket. At the beginning of each level, you're put in a weird room with stuff you don't recognize. There's a bunch of wires and strange things on the walls and tables, and the environment just feels confusing and unfamiliar. The main gameplay revolves around the player trying to escape the room, while surviving the presence of a terrifying monster. If you're not careful, you'll get jump scared and you'll have to start all over again. The twist here is that there is a limited amount of resources available to the player, and you only have one socket to plug them in, so you can't use them simultaneously. The player needs to constantly think about whether or not the action they are doing is worth it. That is the entire game loop of One Socket. When designing level 2, I had to keep this game loop at the core of the design, in order to keep the same feel I want One Socket to have. For level 2, I wanted to change up both the way the player escaped and survived. I don't want anyone getting too comfortable. Starting with the way the player escapes. Instead of having it determined by a timer, the player now has to solve a set of puzzles to get themselves out of the room. I will talk more about the puzzles later. As for surviving, I designed a totally new monster and changed the entire way you defend yourself from it. This monster is drawn towards sounds. The more sounds the player and the objects around them make, the more aggressive this monster will get. If it gets too aggressive, it will attack the player, but with some quick reactions, this attack can be avoided by plugging in the ventilation fan. But what is the limited resource here, you might ask yourself? Well, the vent will only block a handful of attacks, so you have to be careful with how quickly you anger the monster. I also wanted the new level to take place in a new environment. I considered having the second level happen in the same room as the first, but the new level should start off confusing. If the environment would be the same, the player would feel too comfortable, and that goes against the game's core design. The second you start feeling confident and safe in that room, I want to throw you right back to how you felt at the start. So to achieve this, I designed the room to be way smaller than the first one. This is to make the player feel claustrophobic, while also giving them a false sense of safety. They might feel safe from the monster because there's no longer a big empty hallway, but in reality, it is there, right above you in the ventilation, still lurking and listening. Objects in your room will sometimes break and cause loud noises, requiring your immediate attention to fix the noise. The player will do this through timed events, similar to how the skill check works in Dead by Daylight. I added this mechanic to add some more tension and urgency to the level, while also making the monster get to you faster. You won't be able to prevent the objects from breaking and causing noise, and this will happen periodically while you're trying to solve the other puzzles in the room, so you will have to be ready for anything. I developed the puzzles to function like an escape room, where you can see some of the puzzles simultaneously, but sometimes solving one puzzle will reveal another, and often a puzzle will not be able to be completed until you have a clue from a future one. I chose to do this because it ensures that the player cannot escape too quickly by solving everything simultaneously, forcing them to instead go slow and become more aware of the time they are spending and completing each puzzle. It also builds tension and fear because as you're solving the puzzles, you never know if this will set you free or create another hurdle. It also makes it difficult to ration your resources because you cannot tell how long you need to make them last for. The puzzle design has by far been the most difficult part of the whole design process. The puzzles should not be too difficult or frustrating, as there's already a lot going on. But they should also not be too easy, because you'll lose the tension. The puzzles I've chosen are not set in stone yet, but I've decided there will be at least 3 categories of puzzles. Those being memory puzzles, shape sliding puzzles, and what I like to call mapping puzzles. The memory puzzles are quite self-explanatory. You click on 2 different squares. If they match, they stay open. If they don't, they will flip back. You solve the puzzles by finding all the pairs. The next type is the shape sliding puzzle. Basically, you have loads of shapes, and you need to slide one particular shape outside of the box. Lastly, we got the mapping puzzle. This puzzle cannot be directly solved just by looking at it. Further information is needed, that being the map, to be able to know the answer. These 3 puzzles have a nice balance of not being too difficult, but still requiring some thoughts and concentration. In the next few weeks, I will be implementing all these features into a new demo version of the game. I made a community Discord where I'll be holding closed beta tests for the new level when it's finished. So if you want to play the next level, feel free to join and have a good time. If you like this video, I suggest you watch this one, where I'll talk about more cool One Socket stuff. Thank you for watching.